Right.
All right, let's get to race number 11. And right off the board, I want to start out by talking about, because I was looking over here at Up to Mark, who's the favorite at 8-5, I believe. He's got the 2 7s. And then just you look up there at the number 7, Rock Emperor, and he's 12-1 with Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt, and he's got 2 8s, John, in his last two. So for only
Yeah.
being 1 point back in his last two compared to Up the Mark, you're getting 12-1 and you're getting Brown and Pratt. So is Rock Emperor a good play?
No, because he's 7 years old. You don't know the upside on the 8. He's 4 years old. He still has room to improve. The seven's not going to get better at the age of 7. Can he get in? Of course he could get in, but so could horses like Ottoman Fleet, the Charles Appleby horse, the Clement horse, Soldier Rising has a shot, and of course the favorite, Up to the Mark. If he won, certainly would be no surprise. He's just getting good, and he's allowed to get better. He's a 4-year-old. And he's 4 for 9 lifetime, 3 for 4 on the turf. What's the problem?
Chad?
Jonathan.
Go ahead.
Our friend Lee Corso likes to say, not so
Not
fast.
so fast, my friend. By the way, I used that on 4 other shows I was on. Not so fast, my friend.
You mentioned the right trainer. You mentioned the wrong horse.
Oh, okay. The 3 horse, the Charles Appleby Warren Point.
The great Mike Battaglia, I idolized as a kid. And when I worked in the press box at Keeneland, they would wager, and I bet my $2, and they wagered a lot more than $2. And I said, Mike, you love the game, huh? And he said, yep. He said, the best thing about horse racing is if you lose your money, you never really lose because they're just holding it for you till tomorrow. We loved Warren's Point last time.
Yes.
And he pointed at 3-5. And if you
got a
watch,
ride from hell.
if you watch the replay, there were some things that went on in the race. Okay, whatever. Everyone's going to flock to Ottoman's Point because it's Charles Appleby, it's William Buick, who's the first call rider for Godolphin. It's Godolphin. He's coming in off the win. I'm telling you right now, for whatever it's worth, that Warren's Point is the better horse of the two. Buick struggles to make the weight. That's another reason why Richie Mullins rides. He has no problem making the weight, while Buick, it's a little bit tougher. It's a little bit of a taller kid to make the 118. And ultimately, Richie has ridden this horse all year long. He knows him so well. He's ridden out on him in the morning time in Dubai. He won on him before in Bahrain. Buick got him beat in Qatar, and obviously Frankie got him beat here. I think that this horse has a world of ability. They breezed together last weekend, and Warren's Point was the better horse in the breeze. And I think he's the better horse on the day, and you're going to get rewarded because he's going to fall through the cracks a little bit because they're going to play the other Charlie Appleby horse and all the other ones that Jonathan mentioned. I love Warren's Point. Cost me all our money last time. I'm going back for seconds. I'm not shy. I think Warren's Point is the winner here of this race. And I really, really like the horse on this race on Saturday.
Who was your top choice, John? Who did you like the most?
I think the favorite's going to be tough, Up to the Mark, but I certainly could understand the 8. 8 with 3, 4, 5 is what I like.
Up to the Mark was brilliant, and we were so happy for the priest, the rabbi, and the 87 people that Mike Rapoli had with him at the races on Kentucky Derby Day. Mark won and Forte was scratched, and we saw this a million times, okay? Because Mike Rapoli gave interviews to everyone that would interview Mike Rapoli. At the end of the day, this is a turf horse. Todd Pletcher, I know he's had turf horses and turf success, but he's not known for all of his turf horses. So I'm just saying, in a turf grade 1, Charlie Appleby has a lot more grade 1 wins than Todd Pletcher on the turf.
But he also has a lot more starters on the turf than Todd Pletcher has on the turf. And this
it's probably about even, to be honest with you, since Todd's been training since 1994 and Charles Appleby been training since 2012 or whatever it is. Look, I will say this: in Charles we trust.
Okay. And in Chad we trust. So we're going to trust Chad. What the heck with Charles? I'm trusting in Chad.
All right. What about, you mentioned, well, actually, we the odds wise, let's talk about next the 6, excuse me, the 8-1 shot, Red Knight. No single digits since last July.
He's 9 years old, Greg. He's 9 years old. I mean, some of these horses not the same that they were. He did win the Man of War last time out at Belmont, but that was a different field.
Well, Greg's partial to the 9-year-olds because that's the same age as his cell phone. So
that would be true.
Actually, though, Red Knight did beat in Chad We Trust horse last time out, but in Chad We Trust horse last time out beat himself. To be honest with you, the ride beat him more than anything else.
I mean, if you watch the head-on replay, he's a horse that runs well under cover, and I will say this: I think he'll be a little bit more tactically placed at the added distance here of the Manhattan. But Irad Ortiz kind of bumped Frankie Dettori a little bit in the race, which kind of it went from being undercover to being in the clear, and the horse kind of spurred through, and Frankie kind of made a little bit of an early middle move. It was very, very strange. It was very strange. I think he's a much better horse than we've seen, and I think he's trained better going into this race than he even did going into the Man of War. So I understand why you would say Red Knight, and obviously there's a few others in that race that beat him as well. But I think there's a true form reversal on Saturday.
A couple of longer shots. What about Soldier Rising? The 12-1 shot ran a
same race.
6 in July.
That was my 5. Yeah, they're all out of the same race.
Yeah.
So as far as the long shots, which double-digit long shots, which one do you like the most, including Strong Quality, who's got back-to-back wins, 2 for 2 on turf?
Soldier Rising, I like out of the long shots, but again, I don't think he's going to beat the 8, and according to Chad, he's not going to beat the 3. So
let's see. I mean, you're getting 5-1 on Warren Point. If that's not a long
why
enough,
are you going to get 5-1 if he went off 60 cents to $1 against the same horses last time? I mean, you're not going to get 5-1. You may get 5-2. I don't know if he's going to go up to 5-1. He was.
Right, I'll give you a long shot. I've chased this horse a little bit. If you go to the outside, the number 10 horse, Highest Honor. He was scratched. We liked him last time in Keeneland, and he ended up not running. Joel Rosario is going to be patient, make a run. I'll take Highest Honor at 20-1 as one of the longer shots. Not necessarily to win, but I think he can hit the board.
So you're going to do 3 with Chad?
I'm just going to play the 3, but if you needed a long shot, I would use
John, 8 with?
3, 4, 5, but obviously 3, 8, 8, 3 is going to be my main punch, thanks to Mr. Chad.
Right. And I'm going to try to. You got the 8 and the 3, and I'm going to try to make money with the 2, 6, and the 7 somehow with those favorites. It's funny is every time you laugh, I win. So I'm glad you're laughing.
I'm not laughing. It's just funny. We came with 3, 4, 5, 8. You come with 2, 6, 7.
We got the whole board.
So that's it. Who did we leave out? And Chad even mentioned the 10. So
you left out Ocean Atlantic for Mike Maker and Louis Saez. Be careful with leaving off Mike Maker.
I left off so high too. So
okay. Yeah, that's true. 50-1.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Naples,
okay. All right. He did win this race. Before.
So high?
He did?
He did win this race before.
Did he really? How long ago?
Yeah, he paid $1 million. That was the horse that he claimed off Gary Contessa. The horse won. They partied. When I tell you they partied for 4 days and the party never stopped, the party never stopped. The horse was owned by Naples Chatterpaul and his brother. We had a good time that night.
Where is the horse?
That one?
Is he still running?
No. This was years ago. You got to look it up. But Naples Chatterpaul won this race with a horse.
Wow.
It was like first start off the claim or second start off the claim from Contessa. The horse won this race though. I'll never forget.
$750,000. Wow, that's pretty good. Good for him.
All right, it's time to talk about the Belmont Stakes. This should go off about 7:00 on Saturday. 9-horse field.
Very important. Very important. The first time ever the Belmont Stakes is going to be on Fox. Don't turn to NBC expecting to watch this race on NBC. Yeah, this is going to be on Fox. It's a Fox production.
I was watching,
and the great Tom Durkin, will be calling the race. Why don't they save him to call the Travers at Saratoga? Is beyond.
I think the Travers on Fox as well. Look, Tom Durkin says he's nervous. He's been practicing. He hasn't done this in a while. The last
he can do it in his sleep. He's so great. He really
his last Belmont call was the year before American Pharoah, and all he ever wanted to do was call a Triple Crown. So the Belmont has him cursed, but he's given some great calls. Looking forward to watching and listening to Tom Durkin.
The great Tom Durkin.
All right, so Forte's back. So we finally get to see Forte again.
Is he?
What's that?
Is he?
I don't know. Is he? I guess we'll find out on Saturday morning.
He's going to have to get past the he's got 2 more vet checks. He'll be checked tomorrow morning at a competition vet check, and he'll be checked again on Saturday morning.
What are they checking for?
Well, just normal general soundness. That's what he was scratched for on the morning of the race.
And mind you, Pletcher's vet said he was 100% fine, so it was a state vet that scratched him, correct?
Yeah, but that's what these are. It's a gaming commission vet that are going to be looking at him on Thursday and Saturday. So it's not, you're not out of the woods yet. He has come back. He had two. Believe it or not, this is the first time in forever that a horse is coming off a 70-day layoff. Again, he hasn't run since the Florida Derby. This is never really the intended goal, and it's tough when you're pointing from a trainer standpoint. As great of a trainer as Todd Pletcher is, and a Hall of Famer and everything else, you're pointing a horse to go in the Kentucky Derby. Then it changed to pointing for the Preakness. Then it changed to pointing for the Belmont. Then it changed. You had to get the blood work.
But it's only pointing to the Preakness for one day. Then they told him there's no way you could run because you're going to be on the vets list for 14 days. So it's not like he was pointing. What was he pointing for 6 hours?
No, listen, I think it was 3 or 4 days because they were planning to appeal it and all that other stuff, whatever.
Okay.
Look, it's tough to prepare a horse to go 1.5 miles off a 70-day layoff. He's a very talented horse. His last 2 breezes with IRAD have been good. They were exactly what the barn wanted. But I think this is a big ask. This is a big ask. And this is a quality field. It might not be the strongest in depth, not a lot of first-round draft picks here, but this is a solid, salty bunch, and Forte is going to have to run the best race of his life to win. Now, the best race of his life probably does win it, but he's going to have to run the best race of his life off a 7-day layoff. I'm gonna take a stab against here. I don't like Forte in this race.
All right. Well, it's the Belmont, so let's go through it. We got a couple of Tappet kids first. Tappet Shoes and Tappet Trice. First, Tappet Shoes has got a pretty decent sheet line, John. Pretty much better in each race. 10 last time out. This is a Cox-Ortiz combo at 20-1.
Yeah, and he's also a half to a horse named Cyberknife, who we all remember from last year. So we have a little sentimental rooting here. But listen, the horse is fine, but he would have to take another step forward. He's yet to run a single digit. Then there are horses in the race with single digits. So that's his problem.
Full disclosure, we were the underbidder on this horse at the Phase of Tips in October sale when he was a yearling. We went to $290,000. He sold for $300. He needs to get better. The light bulb hasn't gone on yet. Yes, people say Cyberknife was late developing. This horse appears to be really late developing. I don't think the post is going to help him any. He's a horse that seems to like running free. He likes running away from other horses. He doesn't like being in the jumble. So Jose Ortiz is going to have to work out a good trip here from post 1. And it's not going to do him any favors with Tappet Trice to his outside in post 2, because Tappet Trice is also going to be looking to get to the outside. So it's going to be interesting going into that first turn, how everything's kind of handled, because normally horses going 1.5 miles want to get to the rail and save ground, and the 2 horses drawn 1 and 2 want anything but to be on the rail.
Yeah.
So the good thing about this race, as you were saying, Chad, is that besides the 5, I think, I mean, every one of these horses has some sort of shot. The 2 is Tappet Trice, so the 3-1 shot coming off a disappointing Kentucky Derby. What do you think first, John?
I think he could run another 8. I don't know. I mean, listen, he had trouble at the start in the Derby, too, and it was a field of 18. At least this is only a field of 9. He's just another horse. I don't think that he's as good as Forte or Angel of Empire, to tell you the truth. So.
A few years ago, central quality, the Belmont Stakes, one of the first time he breezed as a 2, won the Belmont Stakes for Brad Cox. the first time I ever saw Tapper Trice, I proclaimed him the Belmont Stakes winner. A lot of other people have kind of joined in as well. He has the right running style. He has the right way of going. Total disappointment in the Derby. You never want to give up again, but we've seen this.
You got to fix
Like,
your mic
walk-
there, Chad. Something happened to it.
Yeah, break it up.
I don't know why I'm breaking up, but okay. There's some wonky things that happen in the Kentucky Derby. I'm willing to forgive that. He wasn't himself that day. He's come back and had some wonderful breezes. His breeze 2 back was fantastic. I mean, absolutely mesmerizing how great he breezed. Last week, more maintenance, did it the right way, coming into this race the right way. He's one of 2 possible winners in my eyes. Definitely using Tapper Trice on all my tickets. Not going to make him my top pick because I like one just a touch more, but definitely using him and this other horse as my top 2 selections.
The 3 is Arcangelo, and Arcangelo is coming off a 9, but that's predictable because he started with a 21, then a 16, had a huge 5, breaking his maiden in March. So, he bounced to a 9, won that race in the Grade 3 Peter Pan. What about Arcangelo, John?
Well, if he goes back to the 5, he's going to win, but I don't think he's going back to the 5. I don't like the fact that he ran the 9 off the 5 with time off. I think the 9 should have probably been better, but he did win that race. It was at Belmont. It was the Peter Pan, which people used to use as the prep for the Belmont. He has a shot, but he didn't make my cut. I would much rather use Tapper Trice than Arcangelo.
I'm going to use the 2 of them, and I'm going to make Arcangelo my top selection.
Whoa.
Tapper, the thing about this, first, Tonalist used the Peter Pan. I think he's one of the last ones to do it and come back and win the Belmont. This horse, it was really funny because we were looking at the Peter Pan for a horse named Slip Mahoney, and we got the sheets. And when the sheets came out, what is this 5? Who is Arcangelo? Gulfstream in the spring? What's the situation? What's going on? And you went back and watched the replay and said, wow, okay, fine. Then you went back and I watched the horse train for a couple of days, and he trained fantastic at Belmont. He really, really got a hold of, was training just super. Ran in the Peter Pan and ran to expectations. That was a really tough race with a really nice Uncle Mo colt of Brad Cox that he was able to kind of, he won. He beat him into submission. It was far back to 3rd and Henry Q. Since then, he's flourished over here. He looks great. Wasn't supposed to breeze yesterday. Ended up having a little bit of a breeze yesterday, and it just caught my eye again. I was on the track watching another horse train, and all of a sudden I saw this gray horse go by. So who is that? And it was Arcangelo. He is touting himself like none other. He was showing up and showing out. This horse is sitting on a monster race. It will be the best race of his life. And if you're saying a 5 wins this, I think he gets back to that race. He ran so well that day. And the thing that was most impressive when he broke his maiden, it wasn't even the 2-3 moves he had to make like he was in New York City traffic. It was once he leveled off and got to the wire, his gallop out, Jonathan, was one of the best gallop outs I've ever seen in a maiden winner. He wants the added distance. He loves the added distance. Obviously, it'll be something if Jenna Antonucci able to pull this off. But I think he's coming into this race superbly. I love the fact that they brought him up here early for the Peter Pan, kept him up here. He settled in. He really, really looks really good. And Arcangelo is going to be my top selection, boys.
All right.
Wow. Yeah.
The 4 is National Treasure, being, of course, the Preakness Stakes winner, coming off a 10 in that race. Ran an 8 in the Santa Anita Derby. So really, if you take a look at his sheet line, it's 6 sheet lines. They've all been between 8 and 13. That's pretty solid. What about National Treasure, John?
The problem with this horse is he loses all value because he won the Preakness with a backward move on the sheet. So a general rule, if you're a sheet player, is you don't like to play horses that won going backwards on the figures, and that's the case for him. Not only that, you're not going to get any value. So.
Like Arcangelo.
I thought you were talking about National
No, I was
Treasure.
saying like Arcangelo, who won.
Yeah, but it's a different. Arcangelo's 8 to 1.
The odds are
This
different,
horse,
yes.
Yeah, this horse is Baffert and will be a lot shorter. So
The only thing, John, and I don't know this, and maybe you can inform me on this with the sheets. When you're competing in a situation like this, like the Belmont Stakes, at an unusual distance, how important is the trends of the sheets and everything else? Because yeah, that was a backwards number, and I'm not saying that National Treasure is the most likely winner, but he's going to be the pace setter more than likely, with a jockey with a ton of experience that knows Belmont Park so well, and Hall of Famer John Velasquez. Does he have to?
He really got away with pedestrian fractions in the Preakness, didn't he, Chad?
But can he not do that again here in the Belmont? There's not a ton of speed. Everybody's assuming that one of Brad Cox's 3 horses.
Well, Cox has 3 horses in. One of them's going to go. They're not all taking back.
Well, Tapit Shoes has
no speed. Okay.
Hit Show doesn't have early speed, and while Angel of Empire, they're adding the blinkers. I don't think even adding the blinkers puts him in front. So at the end of the day, it is possible that National Treasure clears again, and he is trained well out of the race. I do think he's a must-use in your multi-race tickets.
Okay. The 5 we don't need to talk about, correct?
Right.
Who's the 5?
Il Miracolo.
Who?
Il Miracolo, the Antonio Sano horse with Marcos Meneses.
Twice as a youth in Venezuela. Anything's possible.
The 6 we talked about, Forte. The 7.
And it loosely translated is the miracle. So why?
It would take a miracle.
Yeah. The
racetrack announcer will be Tom Durkin and not Al Michaels.
Right.
The 7 is Hit Show. Brad Cox. 10.
What about Forte?
I just said it. I said we've already talked about Forte.
We did?
Yeah, we talked about it in the beginning.
We never discussed the sheet on his line on the sheets, but okay, go ahead. Go to Hit Show if it makes you happy. Go ahead.
Hit Show, Forte, 688 last 3. Hit Show, 2 9s last 2. Brad Cox trained horse. You are getting value. What about Hit Show?
And he's coming off the rail. Last time he was on the rail, he was breaking from the rail at Churchill on Derby Day, and everyone knows that you don't want to do that. Listen, the horse is okay. He's like other horses in the race.
My problem with Hit Show, and he's grown a little bit. He is a small horse, but I thought Manny Franco gave him the perfect ride in the Kentucky Derby, and he flattened out because I think he didn't want to get a 1.25 miles. So I'm not sure in 5 weeks' time
he's going to get 1.5 miles.
Go 1.5 miles. I mean, I thought Manny Franco gave him the most perfect ride you could possibly ask for in a 20-horse field. And it wasn't that he wasn't good enough. He was done. He didn't want to go 1.25 miles. So I'm just against him here because I don't think he wants to go 1.5 miles.
What about his sheets, John? Because he starts off 20, 16, 13, 12, and then 9. So it's really an excellent sheet line. But then he has a 9 in the Derby, so it didn't go backwards, but he didn't win. So do you give him credit for the 9 or what? How do you analyze that?
You can give him credit for the 9, but when it gets to these kind of distances, you could either go the distance or you can't. The numbers have very little to do with it. Listen, these horses on Saturday are going to run 1.5 miles. You know the next time any of these horses are going to go 1.5 miles?
Never. Brooklyn and Belmont Stakes next year.
Yeah, okay, or never, or on the grass, maybe, somewhere down the road. But for the most part, they're never going to run this distance again. I think he's probably going to go backwards off of the 9.
All right.
I will say, if this race doesn't knock him out, he's a horse I want moving forward in some of these other derbies, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. 1.125 miles, I think he's a really quality horse. I just think 1.5 miles is too far for him.
All right. Speaking of a really good sheet line, you can't find maybe a more perfect sheet line than Angel of Empire, who has gone from a 27 to a 6 in 7 races. Each race, he was, he had tops of 5, 4, and it didn't matter. He just kept getting better. The 6 was the 3rd place finish at the Derby. So if he continues on the trajectory, John, Angel of Empire could be your winner on Saturday.
Well, not so fast, as Lee Corso and Chad would say. Listen, the line is fine, but here's the problem.
The line is perfect.
Well, it's not perfect, and it's certainly not more perfect than Forte's line, because as a 2-year-old, Angel of Empire's top was an 18. As a 2-year-old, Forte's top was an 8. And if you didn't believe the 8, well, he had 2 11s before the 8. He has the foundation to be any kind of horse, Forte, where Angel of Empire just may be too much development in a short period of time. But listen, take nothing away from him. He's a nice horse. He's trained by Cox, so obviously anything is possible. But as far as lines are concerned, if I had a choice to own Forte or Angel of Empire, I would prefer Forte.
The interesting thing about Angel of Empire is he adds blinkers. And Brad Cox first-time blinkers is 30%. So if you're ever gonna try and pull one last rabbit out of your hat, maybe that's the rabbit. I assume the blinkers are to put him a little bit more forwardly placed because he has a tendency to get lost and suck himself out of it and come with a late run. And for a second, it looked like he was going to win the Kentucky Derby. But I'm just not so. There's something, just like I was against him in the Derby, even though he ran well. He just doesn't do it. He doesn't have that je ne sais quoi for me. That
je ne sais quoi.
That just inspires me. I don't know why. He's done nothing. He's done nothing wrong. I don't know about the word perfect. I think Mind Your Biscuits street line was better. But I just think that he's fine. He's usable. He'll probably run another good race. But I just, the way that Arcangelo is going into this race at Tapper Trice, they've been training here. They have races over the track. I just think, well, Tapper Trice doesn't, but they've been training here. I like the two of them more than I like Angel of Empire.
And Red Route 1, unfortunately, did not close the deal at the Preakness. His sheet line now has stabilized at 12, and that's just not going to get it done.
A 12 is not going to get it done, is correct.
I mean, he moved too early in the Preakness, having to go into those pedestrian fractions. He's supposed to be a 1.5 mile horse with his running style. I haven't loved what I've seen watching him train this week here in New York. I'm against Red.
So, John, you're going to go with Forte over?
6 over 238.
And Chad, you're going to go with the 3 Arcangelo over the 2?
Yes, sir.
I'll go with the 8 over no particular horse. All right, that's going to wrap it up. So next week, I believe we have Monmouth.
What's Monmouth? What are they running at Monmouth?
Monmouth has got 3 grade 3s. It's the only other. Well, we have Monmouth and Belmont. We have the Bed of Roses at Belmont, a grade 2, and we have 3 grade 3s at Monmouth. The Eatontown, the Monmouth Stakes, and the Salvatore Mile. So we'll choose races.
I think some of those are turf races, so we'll figure it out.
As always. Chad, appreciate you getting up from the nap. Always appreciate that. And we'll talk to you. Good luck. Do you have any horses running, Chad?
I'll be in the paddock 6 times on Saturday.
6 times?
How about on Friday?
None of them will be in my name.
How about on Friday?
Friday, we run a horse named Thank You, John, named after the guy in the red. That's wearing the red for like Tiger Woods. We're trying to get some Sunday Tiger here for Friday's race with Thank You, John.
When's that horse running?
Friday, the opener, first race Friday.
Friday morning race.
Is it our first race or third race?
First race.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck.
Chad?
We'll talk to you guys next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and be well.